Okay, for those who are just joining us, welcome to the Agora stage. We just had a brilliant session there from Rock hosting that for us, and we are going to be continuing the theme of AI throughout the afternoon. Now, I am sure it will come as actually no surprise to anyone that a key theme here at 4 years from now is AI, and in fact, over half of the exhibitors are displaying and showcasing AI products. So do go and have a look at the latest innovations that are on offer out in the halls. Right now, though, we are going to be moving on to our next session. And I must take a moment to thank our headline sponsor, EY. So let's just have a little look at a video.
In a world of seismic change, will your business shape the future or be shaped by it? How will we capture the imagination of tomorrow's consumers? Harness technology and AI to shape the way we live our lives. And unlock economic and social prosperity through environmental responsibility. With EY's full spectrum of services, we're all in to reimagine the enterprise and shape the future with confidence.
Amazing. Once again, thank you so much to EY. Right now, then, we are talking about secure AI at scale and how we can bridge the adoption security gap. So please join me in welcoming on stage Global Managing Partner for Client Services at EY. It is Jad Shimaly. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to this one's all yours. Have a lovely session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Secure AI at Scale. The more we talk to clients, the more we're realizing, obviously, that clients and companies are going from specific use cases in AI to scaling AI at the enterprise level. And the more they do this, obviously, the more bumps they face around the way. And one of the main bumps that they're facing is security. So how to secure AI and how to move from a very controlled environment to autonomous AI agents while maintaining this level of security. So today, I'm very privileged to be facilitating a panel with two great speakers. We have Yuval Dvir, founding member and executive at Sandbox AQ. Sandbox helps companies tackle the world's toughest challenges by combining AI and quantum technology. And we're very proud at EY to be an alliance partner with Sandbox, working very closely with them on a series of clients to help them better protect and tackle and better protect AI and post-quantum and be ready from a post-quantum perspective. Yuval is a former Google and Microsoft leader. He's a vocal expert on AI agents, trust layers, and enterprise scale adoption. In addition to Yuval, we have Inaki Pertusa, the CEO of Decidata. Inaki is coming only from Bilbao. Decidata helps companies operationalize AI safely, from data governance to real-world deployment of agentic systems across industries. Inaki is a business translator who helps organizations incorporate data and AI into their operations. So with that said, please join me in welcoming Yuval and Inaki. Thank you, gents. You guys got a much better greeting than I did, and you deserve it, so well done. So I'm going to get started, and Yuval, maybe I'll go straight to you. AI is never far from the news, right? I mean, you don't need to go too far to hear something about AI. Every single client interaction I have, it's either AI-centric or it has a big chunk of it that's around
It's everywhere over here.
It's everywhere over here. It was everywhere over Davos. And with AI moving from supporting decisions to actively, in many cases, taking them. And autonomous agents being deployed into core business processes. So they're no longer at the periphery, they're running processes. What do you see as the most urgent and under-addressed security risks that organizations face as they begin deploying those AI agents?
Yeah, so first, just to baseline everyone about these non-human identities, what we call agents. So we're used to managing people, human, flesh and blood. These agents are different. They're different in how they communicate, they're different how they work, and they're different in how we're supposed to manage them. And I think the area of this session is about scale, and that's a big thing with agents, because right now you take any organizations, whether 10,000 employees, 100,000 employees, they also have some downtime. They go back home. Agents, you can have 10x that amount of agents. They don't go home, they work all the time. So just from the overhead of managing that, it's significant, and there's no good answer to that right now. The other thing, in terms of the protection from a cybersecurity perspective, it's not necessarily the malicious code that they write, it's the malicious instruction that can be entered into those agents that we need sort of to protect against. And just like Andrei Karpatnik, the famous AI researcher, mentioned that the next big programming language is English. That's very true also to cybersecurity hackers as well. So you don't necessarily need to have a degree in computer science to find smart ways to hack. You could use natural language English. And that's the issue with technology. It can be used for good, and it obviously could be used for bad. So there's a few things that we need to understand. There's the scale of them. There's the language communication of how you deal with them, and also how you protect from that, which we're going to get to later. But that's the main issue. Right now, the organizations are not set up to deal with that delivery of scale, the speed. They communicate digitally, not biologically. And I think that's going to be a big challenge right now as they get better in terms of providing agentic work.
That's great. Thank you. So maybe, Inaki, going to you, what are some of the other challenges and risks organizations must deal with when they move from control environment to autonomous, fully autonomous agents, and particularly when they operate cross borders?
Well, we've seen a lot of our clients that are going on-prem, trying to develop LLMs and agents on their own infrastructure, but there are some risks and some barriers there as well. First one is performance versus cost. The deployment of LLMs and agent systems are very expensive from an infrastructure point of view. We don't see that because the big providers are giving us almost for free, very cheap. But if you do the maths and you have to develop your own infrastructure, then cost become quite an issue. And sometimes performance is even more important than privacy. So you realize that we are seeing that some companies that want to go private, but it's so expensive that they prefer not to do it. Yeah. So I would say that that's the first one. The second one is privacy. We've seen, and today in other roundtables, it's privacy and data sovereignty and how we are managing our own data. And that's something that when we ask our CEOs, or the CEOs we work with, if they are concerned about privacy, that's one of the first things they talk about. But the truth is that we are not seeing our people in our organization working very worried about the use of data with a public LLM. So I would say that's point two. And the third one is control. And Yuval was saying that when you have agents making their own decisions, then you have to be clear who's responsible, who's accountable of those decisions. And that's something that I think organizations, and I agree with him, are not mature enough to understand how we need to manage algorithms and agents in our organizations.
That's great. Thank you. I mean, the more we obviously track the evolution of how the AI space has been happening over the last few months, we can only expect for tomorrow to be exponentially more different and potentially busier than it is today. When you think through, one thing you mentioned, Yuval, and I did read the article, one of your articles from the last month where you predicted a crash. You predicted that there's a rush towards that it's a question of time before we all get surprised, and a company gets surprised negatively by a performance of their agents in a way that is not in line with the way things were designed to happen or they were expected to happen. And you talked about the need for organizations to build trust layers.
Yeah. So continuing what I mentioned sort of before, I mean, the attacks there now are going to be much different, and the proportion of agents and potential attacks. And basically, if you think of it this way, the surface attack is much larger than it used to be when you had humans. Now you have humans and agents that are multiplying sort of much better. Each one can spin their own agents, and that sort of puts you in a very vulnerable position. And the other element is the way that they attack. It's almost like a virus attack. It's a healthy host that doing their work, but at the meantime maybe leaks information or important information out there. So the article basically mentioned that right now there's a lot of focus on that, but until there's going to be, at some point, a massive breach in a large organization, I think that's usually what happens. That's going to force a lot of the industry to take this much more seriously and move potentially much faster. In terms of what structure needs to happen, so right now if you think about the zero trust from an agent perspective, it looks at agents as one of the high-risk employees. So you always need to have an oversight of them. What do they access? What do they do? It's almost like a babysit an employee. If this was an employee, you would never hire them because there's too much overhead just to manage them. The only thing we do that is because of the marginal cost potentially of agents and the fact that they spawn off. But because you need a lot of observability, remediation, and access, that puts a lot of overhead on the organization. It needs to get automated. There are solutions for that. The posture management solution is a key one. But again, not all organizations are working at the same level, and at some point, I think we will reach a bridge.
Yeah, that's great. And we hire those employees because they're going to get much better with time as well, obviously, as well. And you're right. I mean, the cost of operating them is fractional. Inaki, maybe going to you. You work extensively with organizations that deploy LLMs on-premise or in tightly controlled environments, to your point from earlier, to preserve privacy and compliance. How does governance need to evolve when you think about it in these contexts? Not just to protect data, but to control, observe, and audit agent behavior across infrastructure, users, and systems to enable, obviously, strong, responsible innovation.
Well, you mentioned just now two main ideas that I think that are making this control very difficult. One is speed, and the second one is exponential change. So we are seeing things evolve so rapidly that having policies in place need to be constantly revisited, because otherwise, then you realize that technology goes ahead all the compliance you can put in place, and risk, as Yuval was saying, this surface of risk companies are facing is becoming bigger. And we have in organizations, not in all of them, but if we talk about SMEs or medium-sized companies, people that maybe don't understand quite well what we are talking about when we talk about AI and the way that agents are transforming our competitive landscape. So I would say that this is something that until some crash happens, it's only in the minds of those who have some knowledge and some vision about what we can do. But eventually, something will happen and we will have to do it. Yeah. There will be no alternative.
I mean, it's one thing, by the way, we're facing internally when I think about our internal AI journey, and we hear it over and over again. There are two main barriers or things or elements that are slowing down AI adoption. One is the current data and how the structure of the data that companies are sitting on. And then the second one is just employee friction or employee readiness for AI adoption at scale. So maybe a question for both of you, and I'm going to start with you, Inaki, this time. Both of you have spoken about the organizational barriers, obviously, to scaling AI, whether it's hierarchy, transparency, structural, how agents communicate differently to people, or readiness for change in large enterprises as well. You've said that the hardest part is not in the model, it's achieving real business impact and changing behaviors. Yeah. What can leaders do to reframe AI security from a compliance exercise perspective to an opportunity that builds trust and adoption within the workforce and drives value creation?
Well, I think that's a very good question. I founded the company 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, there were no generative AI. We worked with other lines of AI, and it was an IT thing. So when we talked about leaders, about how AI was going to change their business models, they used to tell us, talk to my IT guy. Yeah. From the last 5-6 years, we've seen a change in that. We've seen that this is not a technological thing. This is a leadership issue. It's about how technology, how AI is changing business model, how is changing the managerial role, and how leaders in our organization need to empower their employees in order to adopt the technology and to understand how this technology can change the way they have been doing things for the last 10, 15 years. So I would say that leading an algorithm, leading an organization where agents and algorithms will be part of the workforce, needs to have, we need to have different leaders, different way of leaderships in our organization. We need new managers that understand this complexity, and once those managers understand the complexity, then we will see an exponential growth of business transformation, and we will unchain the value of AI.
Maybe the same question for you.
So I think we just need to reimagine the company. And a lot of companies right now are talking about an AI-first company. So what does that actually mean? So if we break it down to what a company is, it's different types of databases and tables that transform and move from one form or another. And the way organizations are done today is for humans. So if someone wants to find a certain file, they can ask their colleague or whatever, but that's going to be very different. So a lot of organizations today, especially SaaS organizations that are feeling the crunch, especially over the past year in terms of their valuation going down because they're in a way being relegated to a database and no longer the front end, external facing as LLMs have taken over. They need to sort of to reinvent themselves. And what companies are starting to do is building the same sort of value proposition on an AI-first method and slowly moving workloads towards that in order to continue to survive. The problem with that, and that touches the point that you've mentioned, the resistance to change of executives is tough. There's an emotional element that you've built a company which is successful, and all of a sudden you need to change something completely different. It requires a different paradigm, a different mindset that is not really something that worked so far. So it will be sort of challenging to move there. Also, there's a convergence of functions as well. I mean, in the past, it was very much siloed between marketing, product, engineering. Now, because AI can go deeper in each one of those disciplines by itself, you could have one person in charge of all of them. I mean, there's one company that I provide services to that now want to build an entire marketing function. And then I spoke to the CEO and I said, wait a minute, why not get two good guys that can do a Claude, and we can build that marketing from that and leverage that. So that's an AI-first type of mindset, and I think more companies are going to be facing that challenges. They can either do it now and avoid the problems later, or reach until the problem happens, and then it may be too late for some of them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think you summarized beautifully is that a couple of years ago, companies, when they embarked on AI transformation or AI-centered transformation, they looked at AI in an incremental way. They would have looked at the process and said, I'm going to tackle this process differently. I'm going to introduce elements to take time out, to take cost out, still within the constraints of the process. While now, companies are thinking about what other different things they can do. So instead of doing things differently, they're looking at different things that they can do in a way. So completely reimagining what a function or a process would look like, almost unconstrained, which obviously unleashes a whole level. Maybe a quick question. You mentioned 5 years ago, whenever you want to talk AI, you would have gone to the CTO or CIO. More and more CEOs are taking ownership of the AI agenda. Are you finding the same?
Yeah, of course. We collaborate with different universities here in Spain, and last week I was in a course for board members. So it's not only a kind of a managerial thing of it's coming to the board. So now even owners want to know how AI is transforming their business models. It's not only about how efficiently we can manage our organization, but how we need to change our company. And the thing is that this is going so fast and it's so deep, the change, that you need to change your business model every just few weeks, months, years, we don't know. And that's something that our organizations and leaders are not prepared for.
Yeah, that's great. Yuval, maybe going to you, when AI systems fail at scale for different reasons, or when the givens or the variables completely change due to geopolitical landscapes, regulatory environment, like some big events that shifts things completely, what distinguishes, in your experience, in your mind, what distinguishes organizations that can absorb the shock and strengthen trust to their customers and their stakeholders from those who don't? And what does leadership look like in that moment?
Oof, that's a lot of questions packed. So let me try to unpack that. So first, organization that have the observability, the transparency of their data, the cryptography and the management of it would fare better. But as AI gets better and better, and I think the key point is the fast takeoff scenario. So when AI can go through rapid recursive self-improvement, that would potentially be disastrous because it's no longer within your control. And as you mentioned, I think things are moving sort of very fast. So even this conference 4 years from now, it should be moved potentially to 4 weeks or 4 months from now because things are rapidly changing, and that sort of rapid recursive self-improvement may happen even this year. In terms of what organizations can do, it is having the observability, the visibility, but again, there's a lot of unknowns that were expected. Last point regarding your point about CEOs. I mean, CEOs get excited about it because also the board forces it on them, but also they're excited about the potential cost saving. In Sandbox, the way that we view it is also creating what we call large quantitative models because we see AI as an opportunity of creation, new fields, new science, new roles potentially, simulations and others, instead of having almost like the zero-sum game of only few companies would succeed by removing cost, and as a result, the economy and the society suffers. So I think those are the two things that I'm thinking that people should think about. It's more about creation, not just, as you mentioned, efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, there's a growth element, not just
100%.
a profitability element to AI. Inaki, what do organizations need to do to build resilience? And 4 months from now, the world's going to be different. So what does resilience look like?
I think that that's something you can hear everywhere. It's about, I would say, it's about culture. It's about how you empower your organization as a whole, as a team, in order to understand that you need to change. Not because we want to, but because if you don't, maybe you can be out of the market in just a few months. And we've seen a lot of sectors that have been disrupted in the last 6 months, 12 months, and we see more in the future. We see the valuations in the stock market, and we see how complete insurance, for example, last week, 2 weeks ago, with the capacity of OpenAI of buying your own insurances directly from OpenAI, we've seen that those sectors are in real danger of disappearing, and it's like we've been not threatened in the last 25, 30 years, and now we need to wake up, because if you don't, somebody will do it for you. So if you cannot translate that into your organization, you are in a real danger. So I would say that culture and the way of kind of this sense of urgency into each one of your employees would be kind of an important thing to do.
Great points. Maybe a question around the broader ecosystem. When we ran a survey a year ago about, and we asked CEOs whether they think they're going to partner with a mixed ecosystem to tackle their AI programs, 50% of the CEOs a year ago said yes, that they have a plan, they want to partner with a broader ecosystem. A year later, a couple of months ago, we asked the same question, and 80%, so it moved from 50 to 80, I'm rounding here obviously, So 30% additional CEOs are saying now, I know I need help. Now I cannot tackle this issue by myself. I cannot even tackle it with my best friend. I need best friends. Are you seeing the same? And how can companies just filter through everything that's needed? I'm going to start with you.
Yes, I always believed in partnerships. At Google, I ran the scaled partnership program globally. And when I'm working with the sales team as well, when we have a deal or close on a deal, we call it we partner. So everything is about sort of partnership, and it's further the same today as well. So you can't do everything by yourself. This impacts everybody. And even this conference, right? I mean, coming to this conference based on the company said, okay, this is a telco conference. Any conference today is an AI conference, and all the main companies come and discuss the same thing. So it's relevant any type of conference. And that's why, from a partnership perspective, it makes much more sense. It's more distributed. Each one brings their own sort of strength to it. It's more API. It's more open. And it gives you better control and the ability to manage the risks and the rewards that come with it.
Anything you'll add?
I agree completely. I would say that this is so complex. This goes so fast. You cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
So you need experts around you. Could be an LLM provider, AI provider. Could be companies specialists, as we are. But you are going to need a co-pilot with you. You need somebody that guides you in this process, because otherwise you get lost. We see a lot of CEOs wanting to do things, but they don't know how. And if you are going to do it with somebody that knows, because they have done it before.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe before we wrap up, a question to both of you. Obviously today and the last few weeks have made it clear that securing scaled AI requires leaders to build governance and security by design, to be very thoughtful in how they tackle governance, transparency, and security. And they need to be prepared for the risk of newer AI models, and to communicate clearly how those are being addressed. So with that in mind, what is the one change leaders must now make to securely scale AI and enable responsible innovation? Yuval?
So I would say, I mean, shadow AI is a big thing, injection of prompt engineering. And ultimately, I think just like AI and LLMs made it easier for us to build new things because we use just natural language programming, we need to have that same mindset. That's what the cyber attackers use as well. And that changes how you think and how you protect your organization. I mean, when you protect your organization, sometimes you can, it's always a dynamic thing. There's you build something and then the hackers break it and back and forth you go. And sometimes all you need is one, rogue employee that opens the door and everything, all the layers go to waste. So for a human identity, you need the right incentives so they won't need to do that. But what are the incentives that you do for an agent not to, in a way, screw up the company? And that's really not that clear right now. So there's a lot of back and forth. We don't know. It's hard to figure out. In a way, you could use AI to protect yourself against AI, or at least think about those things. So it's a mixture of all of that, but you need to change your mindset.
That's great.
I would say that there are kind of two dimensions of protecting yourself or your organization for the use of AI. One would be of the solutions you develop for your clients or for your own processes, and that's something Yuval was saying. But also, I was having a conversation with a CEO last week about that they were very compliant with all the things about their own software, their own solutions that have AI embedded, but they were having troubles with their own employees working with other providers' LLMs and other AI solutions. So it's not only by protecting your company from your own software, but also from how your employees are using other software, because that also can have an impact in your own organization. Imagine that you have some kind of a piece of code that you share with a third-party LLM in order to see that if you have any bug, and unfortunately, you share an API, a password, and you share, and then that you don't know where that information is gonna finally end. So that's also a risk that we see not only for your own software, but also for how your users are using the thousands or millions of apps with AI outside your frontier of your organization.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll finish with very quick words. It's critical, obviously, to ensure that security is embedded in how a company tackles building, deploying, scaling, designing AI in general. Otherwise, companies take 2 steps forward, 1 backward, and just having the right foundation of just ensuring that security is embedded and governance is embedded in all their long-term plans is the way to go. So with that said, thank you very much both. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And I look forward to following what magic you guys do next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so very much. Please do feel free to come down here. We're going to... Pictures all good? Yeah. We got your photos. It's OK. Thank you so, so much. Really appreciate it, Jad. Thank you, Jad. Thank you, EY, as well, for, of course, being a sponsor of our theme this year, our main sponsor. OK, we do have a very short break here on the Agora stage. We've got 20 minutes before we are going to continue the conversations. So we've had loads of learning so far on this stage. We've, of course, just heard about autonomous AI agents and how they're outpacing safeguards. We also spoke earlier on about decoding EU Inc. and agentic AI. And when we get back, we've got 3 sessions left. We will be hearing from 4 years from now awards, previous winners from the last 2 years. We also will be learning about leading deep tech companies, and that will be straight after the break. So please do go and grab a coffee, go and network, learn more about the 4 years from now awards. It's right out there, and we'll be back in 20. So thank you so much.